So Amazon's Fallout has released its official trailer, and the initial impressions are it looks really great. That it looks like a high quality show, like a lot of money has gone into this thing. It's got a big production budget, and that hopefully they're going to be faithful to the source material. But a lot of Fallout fans are nervous, and rightly so, because there's this lingering fear that Amazon is going to pull like a Halo show, where they're going to release this show, and for those who are hardcore fans of the original game, the show is essentially going to mess up the lore and not really care about what came before and going to do its own thing. And so I wanted to talk about that here today with you guys and dive into some of the fears with this show, some of the things that are looking great, and my kind of initial thoughts and impressions on what we've seen so far. So let's dive right into it. So first off, I want to get this out of the way. I am not a massive Fallout fan. The only Fallout game I've played is Fallout 4, and I absolutely loved it. I think it's one of my favorite games from the last generation, but I'm not someone who's all into the lore and everything that's going on. And so when I initially saw this trailer and these photos, I was really pumped. That I was like, from what I understand about this series, this looks really great, that it seems like a lot of money and time and effort has gone into this thing, and that we might get another great video game adaptation. And as a massive Last of Us fan, I was so satisfied with the show that we got last year from them, and was like, man, this might be another one of those where it's a really, really great show, a really great adaptation that gamers can get excited about, that is faithful to the source material and then takes liberties to try to make it into something that flows better for TV. And so I was really pumped, but a lot of fans who actually know the lore are not, and there's a lot of concerns. There's already signs that maybe Amazon is ignoring the lore and they're already pulling a kind of Halo, and so I don't really know the different details to dive specifically into that. But what I can say is that I'm not shocked that Amazon, specifically with things like The Boys or Invincible, I'm a big fan of Invincible, the comic book. It definitely takes liberties. So I would say that the Invincible show has been faithful to what the comic book is and adapts it really well to TV, but is pretty different in some aspects than the comic book was, and in some ways that I think are unnecessary, much like the Halo show was, where it's like, that's weird. I don't know why you would choose to make that decision. Why would you not just do what the comic did? That sometimes happens, and for The Boys, that specifically has happened multiple times, where it has taken a very different direction or changed lore or things that the comic book had, sometimes for the better, sometimes for worse. And so to hear this coming out about the Fallout Amazon show is not super shocking, sadly. That I would have initially had the impression that they were probably going to do that to some degree or another, because that's what Amazon does. And hear me, like, when you are playing a game versus watching a TV show, those are two different mediums, and sometimes you need to adjust things. That the Last of Us TV show, for example, adjusted some of the lore, and it worked. Not having spores worked. I don't know whether I prefer it. I don't think I do. I think logically it would have been fine to have it make sense in a TV show, but I get why they thought that the spores, for example, didn't make sense in a live action scenario. It would raise more questions than in the video game it would. And so they went in a different direction, and it was fine, and it worked, and that was fine. And then other things happened too with Bill, where they changed it, and I was disappointed by what they did with Bill. I didn't really like it. As someone who's a big Game of the fan, that was one of the most disappointing episodes for me, because the Bill segment of the game is like my favorite part of the game, probably. But it was fine, and it wasn't unfaithful, and for the most part, I got a really great adaptation. But with something like Halo, those things began to become more apparent, that it continually took more and more liberties, and it wasn't just occasionally like it was with Last of Us, where it became so apparent that you're like, I'm watching something different, and that's kind of the fear. But I personally don't think that'll be what happens. I think there will be liberties and things that are different, like Invincible and The Boys has, and like The Last of Us had. But I think they're going to remain mostly faithful. And the reason why is because both of the properties they've taken that were based on other IPs, The Boys and Invincible, are faithful to that comic book. That it has taken liberties and they have done things differently, but it hasn't been to the degree where it feels like the Halo show did, where you're like, I'm not really watching an adaptation of this. I'm watching someone essentially take this concept and kind of do whatever they want with it. that has never happened, I feel personally, in The Boys or Invincible. And so I've got some hope for the Fallout fans that I think it's going to be okay, that I think that they'll adapt it, and there will be things that'll bother you, like I was bothered for The Last of Us. I'm like, I don't know if that makes more sense. I don't know why they would change that. I don't know if I would have done that personally. But overall, I enjoyed the show because it was really faithful for the most part to the video game. I feel like that'll be the same thing for this Fallout show, that there'll be things that bother you and make you mad and are like, why did they change this? But for the most part, it's going to be faithful. It's going to be something you enjoy, and it's going to be something you're going to want to see more of. That's my hope, at least, but there is the chance that it could suck, and I really hope that it doesn't. I hope Fallout fans get a great adaptation. As someone who was a big Assassin's Creed fan and saw so much potential for that Assassin's Creed movie, to get an adaptation that was so horrible and so bad that I really don't ever wish that on another fandom community. And so I'm really rooting for you guys and you Fallout fans that this show will be great, and it'll do what The Last of Us show did and bring new viewers and new fans of this franchise into the fold, that someone like me who doesn't really know about Fallout and has only played the 4th game will be able to watch this and enjoy it and become a Fallout fanboy. That's my hope, at least, but I want to know what you guys think, so head down in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts. Are you worried for this Fallout show? Does it look like another Halo to you? Or does it look like something that's faithful? Does it look like a Last of Us adaptation or Invincible, or even the Sonic the Hedgehog movie that came out, where you're like, this is a faithful adaptation that's going to take some liberties, but overall looks really good? Let's have that conversation in the comments section down below. And if you haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe, and all that stuff. I'm a small channel, so every little bit genuinely helps, and I'm thankful to all of you who have done that and are going to continue to do that. So until next time, guys, like, comment, subscribe, all that junk, and I will see you guys in the next one. Please let this show be good.